Greetings everyone and welcome back to Factory Town, where in the last episode we set up a bit of a change to our mana network. We have a mana highway now that runs more or less the entire length of our factory. Off camera I adjusted the setup down here as well. I added a inline recharger in much the same way as we did to all of our mana consuming areas in the previous episode. Now we're only splitting off the mana that we need. We are storing the mana that is going to be consumed in a silo just for to have a bit of a buffer there, and we are feeding in mana into the loop over here to start running our production of ether. We will then recharge it and return it to the loop if there's room. If there isn't, it gets siphoned off, and if everything else is full, then the regular mana crystals will just get pulled down into the main network. Of course, we're also delivering the earth crystals as well. Now, I'm actually pretty happy with the way that this is set up. There are a few things obviously that we can improve on here. Our consumption of earth mana is really radically slowed down by this area. We're producing stone ridiculously fast though compared to everything else, but we do not have enough earth mana in the system because we're not recharging it fast enough, and that is a bit of a problem for us. Let's go ahead and see if we've got enough. Oh, we do have enough blocks, so we should be able to do something like this and have it recharging 3 times as fast, and there we go. Look at that going. That is perfect. That is exactly what we needed to see, in my opinion. Now, there is one thing that we could set up, and that is if currently we do have a bit of an overflow, if you like. We're not able to pull these out quite fast enough, and that is causing a bit of an overall slowdown in the system. You notice that the discharge crystals are sitting in these slots for a long time. That isn't exactly the best situation for us now. So one thing we could do is to siphon these out if there's no room to store them, and then allow them to enter back into the system and get recharged over there if we really want to. That definitely is a possibility. In most places, I don't think that's going to be strictly necessary, but here that does seem to be a bit of a problem for us. That it might be improved, considering we are now recharging these crystals very quickly, but eventually this probably will back up again. We'll have a look at that in the future though. I don't think we're going to worry about that one just for now. We're just going to let the system run for a little bit. Now, in this episode, I would like to get the production of blue crystals up and running. But before we get to that, there is one thing that I didn't get to cover in the last episode and that I brushed on, and that is that we could set up a bespoke mining operation over here to mine the air crystals. We could actually bring them down here and then set up another earth shrine, and that would recharge or replenish the deposit of air crystals down here. Now that is going to require a little bit of finagling, because unfortunately you're going to have to go, my friend. Thank you very much for your long service. We're going to need air crystals in our inventory to be able to build air crystals. So let's move this entire silo all the way down here, right there. We're going to place down a little chute right here for now, just to siphon that in there, and that'll work quite well. We'll pop this silo back over here, now a nice empty silo. Now we're going to build a mine. At this point, we are bending the world to fit our narrative. We want the world to be a certain shape, so we're making it that shape. It feels a little bit arrogant, a little bit foolhardy and dangerous. This is how dystopian dark fantasy futures are born, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do this. It is dumb. But we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to illustrate. I'm going to force science just how dumb this is going to be. We're going to pop on an earth booster just because I can. Now, we do have a recharging area over here already, specifically for the white crystals that we're using. Now, should we go ahead and build well, no, I don't think we need more. We've got this little earth recharging area. I don't think we need more than that. Right, let's go ahead and place down the air stones. Now, we need 10 at a time, so we can happily set these up, I think, down there. And we're going to want to leave a little bit of a gap because we are going to want an earth shrine right about here, right there, to recharge these air crystals for us. Now, this should run pretty happily for the most part. Now, given that, we're going to probably want to adjust the positioning of this a little bit. So why don't we try and set that up? We are going to want the earth mana in here somewhere. Let's have the regular air mana pipe filter down here, perhaps. This is going to be a bit of a tricky one to find a good placement for it, but I think it's something we can work on. Sure. We will need it to connect up there, but we're going to then want these pipes to change direction. Let's bring this all the way down from here, let's say. It'll make it a little bit easier. You'll also notice that I've gone through and I've replaced almost all of the sorters with pusher filter combos. I just feel that they're a little bit better because they don't clog the pipe. And in many cases where I just had one pusher before, I now have a pusher filter combo. Again, it just erring on the side of caution, I guess, with these ones. These can all go. And we can strip this entire area away. What on earth was over there? Oh, that is... I thought that was some connector, a mana connector, but no, it's the top of a cart. Never mind, never mind. We have sorted out the panic there. There we go. This should be then able to split quite evenly. There we are, in the directions that it needs to go. This one will then split as well, and so on and so forth. Now, at this point, we know categorically that we have air mana crystal. Sorry, not air mana crystal. I keep thinking of the white as air for some reason. Well, I don't even think it's necessarily a bad reason. But we do have to get all of this. Can I get rid of that? There we go. All of this down there. There we go. We have regular mana crystals only on this line, so that should be fine. This will all eventually fill up. As you notice, I have made a little area that allows these crystals to return to the main loop, should there be a need. And I think I'm going to do that down here as well. We're going to place a pusher there. We'll get the air crystals in there if we can. If we can't, then they can return to the main system. This shouldn't generally be a problem for us, but it's good, in my opinion, to build these kinds of plans into the system. Now, from here, I'm going to say we're probably going to want this to split off all the way down to here, perhaps, and also all the way down to here, perhaps, and then these can build out and return all the way back up there. There we go. Now this should free up quite a lot of the system at this stage. Now, unfortunately, we've massively increased the drain on this particular system. We've got a lot more recharges running on this now. Or rather, a lot more sources of energy drain. So we may want to adjust this a little bit. I'm not entirely sure yet. I could even have this come down there. I could even perhaps have a silo for the discharge crystals to just make things a little bit easier for us. But it's only going to partially fix that problem. So I'm not really sure what the best solution in this situation is. We'll have to see, but for now, I think this is going to be okay. We do want to recharge this a lot faster, though. So let's have a see if we can't just quickly sort that out, at least with one additional recharger, perhaps. Sure, we could have two, something like this. One there. Move this one across instead. There we go. And then we can build the chutes a little bit differently just to deliver to these. So we want something like this. Oops, that was my bad. There we are. And there we go. So we've now got 4 rechargers running at all times. It's not an ideal system. There is room for us to improve this, but for the time being... well, that said, actually, we could get in an additional 2, perhaps, if we use grabbers here. Alternatively, I could just do something a little bit more squirrely, and that kind of satisfies me on some level. I know it probably melts your brain, but my brain is fine. My brain enjoys that. So, sure, we'll have a little bit of character there. It's not quite the same as everywhere else, and that is okay. We'll pop down 2 more recharges as well, so we'll have a 6 recharger setup, and at that point, we really should be good. There we go. And we just need some chutes, pulling these down as well. There we are. That should help us out quite a lot. Let's get that in. Why did that delete? I have no idea, but oh well. There we go. That should start looking a little bit nicer now, as all of these crystals start getting pulled through. It does seem to be the Earth temples, the Earth shrines that are pulling out the most power from this. That does cause some issue. We've got an awful lot of Earth crystals there. Wow, my lord, that's a bit full on. I am tempted. Yes, I'm actually very tempted. What we'll do is we're going to have these hook up down there, and then over here we're going to siphon this off if necessary. So something like this should work okay. We will have a pusher just trying to make sure that it does take this route if there's room for it, but otherwise it'll go straight down. And that will start filling the system out, and these can start recharging over there. We'll make use of the other 6 recharges, but wow, do these Earth Shrines drink a lot of our Earth mana. I mean, not necessarily the worst thing in the universe, but also not necessarily the best either. Let's get those split off there. I hadn't really factored that in properly. But on the plus side, the air mana is getting the lion's share of the earth mana right now, so I guess that's okay. I could use a pusher, but honestly, I think if I use a pusher anywhere in this system, whichever one I'm pushing to will just drink all of the mana as soon as it's there, and it'll never back up, so we'll create a bit of a problem for ourselves eventually. But that should be okay for now. Let's have a look down here. These resources, they're doing okay. How about over here? Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, no, this one's still depleted. Oh, no, there we are. It's back. And it's gone again. We'll see. We will see. This has got a lot of resources that it's currently trying to recharge. So, I mean, that does overall help out, I guess. But we'll see how that goes in time. But this little area now is stupidly active all of the time. We've got a nice little backlog of crystals to be recharged if we can. We've got a lot of recharging happening here. The system is a little bit better overall, I would say. Things are moving a little bit faster. This side is amazing because it's got such a massive backlog of earth crystals there. Eventually, once that backlog's pulled up a little bit. Now, I'm wondering, does this eventually fill? Do these eventually have some sort of capacity? Because as we can see, we've got a bar here. I would assume that the capacity is maybe 600? Something around there, perhaps? Maybe different from each resource as well. Let's have a look at these. Yeah, that one's only got 200 as the maximum, so it's a little bit unclear to me, but we're just going to let that system run for now. I think it should be fine on its own. Right, we've got some water crystals around that we should be able to pull in without too much trouble. We're going to need to clear up some resources for that though first, so let's go ahead and take care of that one before we do anything else. Sorry, I know, sorry. No. There we are. Perfect. Right, we'll get our friendly neighborhood elemental refinery. We're going to... I'm really tempted to inline the production of... so I have an inline buffer for the ether. But at the same time, I've done it at none of the other factories, and they do seem to be running okay. So perhaps we won't worry about that one for now. I would like water ether, please, and I would like that to be piped down into my temple over here. There we go. The temple itself, can I rotate it? I can indeed. Can shoot out into, well, we'll need 2. We'll need a silo over there, and we'll want to transmit it over here. So let's pop down the silos that we're going to need. It would be nice if buildings had some further categories, in my opinion. But I suppose that's fine for now. We'll have a silo just down there as well. There we go. That should be all the silos that we're going to require. Now, we're going to need a mana receiver and a mana transmitter as well. One receiver here, and probably a receiver, I'm going to say, over here. We will then want a transmitter, or rather 2 transmitters, and a couple of rechargers. 1 recharger should be enough, I think. Unfortunately, we've run out of mana there, mana brick to make the last little part of that. That's fine then. Right, we could set up a mine and just start mining these resources, or I could have a harvester do it for now. Be a little bit more low-tech. I'm fine with doing that for the time being, especially if in the future I am instead going to be setting up bespoke mining areas by just adding the resource in there. And then, oh my lord, look at this, it's grand. It's filling up very, very nicely. I imagine that most of them were closer to oh my goodness, that one's all the way up to 492. I'm absolutely certain it wasn't that high to start with. My lord. That one's being mined. How are these doing generally? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell because I think this is also trying to replenish so much of the coal, and the coal is probably getting quite a lot of it actually. We could add in extra earth shrines. That would probably be a bit excessive though, I'm going to be honest. That would probably not really help us in the grand scheme of things. That would probably hurt us, to be fair. We could additionally... The recharger could feed out here and I could allow the system to pipe the earth stones into each one individually. No, we're using a pusher there. I just don't like having 2 splitters following on from each other. It does kind of cause a bit of a backlog, but this stack of earth crystals is doing amazingly down here. That is absolutely wonderful. This place is doing very well. It's just a shame that this place doesn't have a similar kind of buffer, because it would really, really help. But we'll just have to live with what we've got, unfortunately. Okay, so that's all set up. Now we're going to need to bring down white mana down here. Possibly, is there any other type of mana we're going to need? Eventually we're going to need earth mana to run the mine and the earth shrine, but for now white mana is the only type that we're going to need to bring down. So given that, I'm going to say this is going to be the return route. So sure, let's peel off the white mana around here, I'm thinking, and we could bring it down to about here, where it will rejoin with the mana right there. There we go. And then it can feed all the way back up into the main system. Excellent. Right, down here, we are going to want to peel off a bit of white mana down there as well. So let's get that going. There we are. That'll be nice and easy. And furthermore, sure, we can get this to just feed into the system here. And then down. This will feed the crystals back in and then back up. That should all work all right. Let's have a quick look at how I've set that up over here. Yeah, because we needed to feed back into the system. Actually, we'll have that come down in this direction instead. Something like this. There we go. That'll allow me to feed it back in a little bit of a better way. We'll have one recharger, one transmitter, and then that can feed back up. Right. Can't afford. I wonder why not. Oh, right. It's trying to place down a mana connector there, but we don't need it. That'll work. Right, there we are. And we can place down the chutes as well, since we know exactly the setup that we're having down here. There we go. Now, do we have enough mana bricks is the question. One mana transmitter? Yes, we do. At this point, we have enough to build that and the recharger. And this system should, for all intents and purposes, be primed. That should work. Now I just need to put in the logic and we're good. So, once again, I would like this to push back into the system where possible. But if it cannot, I would like it to feed back out of the system. So we know that this is only going to be white mana down here. Where possible, feed directly back to the refinery itself. I'm going to want a splitter right there. And finally, probably a pusher at the bottom. Now that is going to push it all into this, the silo, but that should be fine. There we go. We'll have a little bit of a backlog, but not so much of a backlog that it's going to be a problem for us. It's going to be very similar to what we've got over here, really. We had a much smaller backlog there, but it's fine. With that done, the remainder here is going to be fed in there. It's going to drain all of our white crystals for the time being, and that does suck. I could get away from that by using a splitter initially so that I make sure that some of the white crystals stay in the overall system. But no, we're going to push this through, I think. There we are. We should have a fairly good system set up with this now. Let's just make sure that that's all working correctly. There we go, getting all of these down there. We'll see those start feeding in. Now, the nice thing about having the return pipe before the splitter here is that one thing that I did not set up, because we may have discharged crystals coming into the system, I need to be very specific that only fully charged mana crystals are allowed through these sensors. That way the discharge crystals can just return to the whole system. There we go. That'll work nicely, I think. And we should start seeing water mana starting to build up. Let's have a look at you. Right, the water mana is automatically being sent back into the system, which is not strictly what we want. And where did I put the grabber? I put the grabber between the silo and the transmitter. That's fine. Let's go ahead and set that up then. There we go. And disable it for now. Perfect. Right, there we go. We should be able to leave that doing its job for a little while. The silo will start filling up with time, but that should be all right. We'll see over here that this earth silo is probably full. Yes, it is. And if we have a look down here, we will probably see that these are reasonably full as well. Yes, they are. My goodness. Over here, I don't really necessarily think we need to worry about it, but I could put an earth shrine over there. I don't think that's necessary though. Honestly, right now we've still got items in storage, so we're putting items back into the system as more or less as fast as we can. So that should be fine. The alternative is I could drain the system a little bit more aggressively, so I could have 20 crystals being withdrawn from each silo at a time. It would take a lot longer for each one to get into the system, but that wouldn't necessarily cause that much of a problem. I'm undecided on that one for the time being. But if nothing else, it's time for us to start clearing up our town a little bit, actually. We've got a lot of room that we're going to need for water and then fire, so let's go ahead and start clearing all of this up, shall we? There we go. All of this down. There we are. And then start peeling away the sky. It's fine. You no longer live in Midgard. The sky isn't going to fall on you. You're fine. We will bring some of those buildings over here, though. Now, let's have a look. How much room have we got? We've got quite a lot of room, let's be honest. Sure. Then what we'll do is we'll place down some cobble roads around there and around here. And I'm going to move over 4 of the houses. That should give us a little bit more to play with. Now, this is going to impact our overall happiness a bit. We do have generally more happiness over here. The maximum in the houses on this side is 4. Unfortunately, because all we're doing is supplying them all the food they could ever eat. But over here, we're providing all sorts of other things besides. And that is going to impact us a bit. Still, I'm pretty happy to be clearing up this area. It'll give us a lot more options. Yes, I know I've taken away your stairs up here. That's fine. You don't need to go down. That was never a need. It was a want, you greedy people. It's fine. Look, you can get down on the tracks. Just make sure the minecart isn't coming the other way. Alright, so we're going to want to set up a water system down here. Now, ultimately, it is time for us to get rid of these farms. I'm fairly certain that these buildings will be completely set up very soon. Though, maybe we're going to want to expand out our farming industry a little bit because I can only assume that we don't strictly have that much resources available to us to just move all of the houses across. I don't think the little industry we've got over there right now is going to be enough to cover that. Still, we need the room, and eventually we can sort that out, I'm sure. There we go. All right, now let's start digging all of this away to make a little bit of room for our farm, for our barns, and the logic blocks that are going to be needed to run them. I am actually quite proud of this little system. I think it does a good little bit of work for us. I did initially envision a much more complex mana network, which is why I built that. Had I realized I was going to go with something a little bit more simple and have individual recharging stations around the various areas, I probably wouldn't have built this, I'll be honest, but I am still quite happy with it all the same. Let's move the barn over here. We've now got a second barn. There we go. And we could probably move the grain mills too. Yep, I think we probably will. Yep, moving the grain mills as well. Maybe one day we'll use them for something else. We're not going to get any refunds on them right now, so there's no point in not taking them. All right, there we go. And we'll get... Oh, I'll just use the hotkey, which is X, by the way, for remove blocks. And we can clean up everything around here as well. There we go. Marvelous. That one can be gone too. Is everything else sorted? I think so. There we go. Right, as soon as the kitchen is emptied, which it more or less is for all intents and purposes, we can move that as well. Right, no more bread for you, I'm afraid, people. You'll need to move to the other town for that once I let you. Actually, I just realized it's a little bit bad. Because it's not as simple as them just being able to go there. I've got to give them permission first, and I'm not going to be doing that for a while. You're going to go without food. You're going to be very, very angry with me. Justifiably so, I feel. I am being a bit of a scallywag right now, but it is for the greater good. It will generally lead to the betterment of our entire nation. So hopefully you can forgive me. And if you can't, well, you know, I've got other people that I can talk to who do forgive me. Frankly, you can take your complaints elsewhere. Right, now we are going to need one of these barns. You will do. This is why we saved them. I'll go. Not that we strictly need to, let's be honest, but still, I would prefer to if I can. We'll want a silo. And at this stage, can I? Let's see. Am I going to be able to copy things? No. There we go. Sometimes it's so hit and miss. Right, I'll take this one. There we are. Can I grab those? No. Can I at least copy this? Really? I don't even. Frankly, I do not even. Let's get all of that set up down there as well. Maybe in the future we'll be setting up those, and since it's a remote possibility that I will have these. Oh, that is not quite what I wanted to do. Oh, right, they exist underneath. Oh, have we built those down? Can we build them down? Oh, yes, we have already built them. That's fine then. But yes, as I was saying, it is possible we'll build a second layer. It's somewhat unlikely, though, I'll be honest. But still, for the sake of keeping everything nice and even looking, let's go with that. Now, the nice thing here is we only need to add in this circuitry, and then just hook it up to these as necessary, and everything else is taken care of by itself. Eventually, we're going to need to push this over a little bit more. I'll take care of that, though, when the time comes. So we're going to need 2 inventory sensors. Let's get these going again. There we are. Going to want just some number blocks, at least 2 of them, just for the sake of it. Oh, I needed an inventory sensor there as well. There we go. Then we're going to need some math blocks. 1 down here, 2 there, and there, and 1 there. We're going to want a bool function. Should be an OR. It is. Fantastic. And we're going to need a delta block. There we go. Right. Now, just to illustrate, just to point something out, because quite a few people have mentioned it. When I'm checking for less than 1, specifically I'm checking for there being nothing in an inventory, I could use a bool function instead of a math block. I could just check for not. The way that not works is it inverses the truth value of an equation. And typically, the way that in computing true and false is represented is 0 and 1. You can expand that out though to anything less than 1 is negative, or goes into the negative or 0. Some systems handle it differently, but anything less than a positive value is false, and anything that is a positive value, no matter how big that value is truth. So you would be able to, I imagine, because I can't imagine that this system has any particular shenanigans with that sort of thing, you could set up the system to use not for much the same effect that I'm going for here, without having to faff around with a math block if you wanted to. Or you could set it up like I have, which is a little bit more visually, it's a bit of a better visual explanation, I feel, than just having a not block, because unless you're quite familiar with logic, and especially the visual representation of logical functions, you wouldn't be able to just look at it and know what you're trying to check for. So that's why I tend not to do that sort of thing in my Let's Plays, is I try not to assume how much someone knows. I know that really, when you think about it, I do such complicated things sometimes that really if they don't know it, then I'm already causing them an immeasurable amount of mental distress. And I do apologize for this. It's not something I enjoy, but I really, really like playing around with these sorts of things. I can't pretend that I'm not being a little bit selfish with this. I am, I know, but I'm not going to change either. So I hope that you can forgive me, is what I'm getting at. Let's make this less than, and then we just need to feed this block into both other blocks. I think that should be fine. This feeds down into the ore. This feeds across into the ore. There we are. Right, now, given that, we want this to feed into the AND right down there. There we go. And this should be fed by this one right there. Okay. Now with that, we've got the whole system set up. So all we need to do now is add in the conditional statement to peel off any water crystals. So let's just go ahead and do that. We'll swing this down. Let's leave enough room. 1, 2, 3, space, and down there. And we'll feed that back in around here. And that should, I'm hopeful, be good. Let's get rid of all of that. We'll have this one feed down. Now we just need the logic blocks. Or rather, logistics blocks. I'm going to continue to get these two massively messed up all the time. That's just the way it's going to be. There we go. Perfect. Done and done. Did I get that in time? Or did we end up with white crystal in there? I think we're okay. This should realistically only store water crystals, so I can set that up now. And hopefully, have we got any water crystals in the network? Let's have a look. Are there any water? I wish I could pan my view in here, but alas, it does not appear that I can. I think we should be good. We've certainly not got anything stowed, so... Alright. Then let's open the system up. Have we got anything stored? Yes, we do. Go. Start emptying it into the system and we'll see where this goes. We will... of course, we were probably peeling off all of the water crystals down here in there. I'm going to turn this off for the time... rather, this one off for the time being as a result. Turn that one off. I want the water crystals to go into storage first. There we go. And now we can turn it back on. I just want to see some of them get in there. There we are. That's perfect because we need the system to prime. We need the inventory in this silo to change so that the delta block will calculate and then turn on and turn off the production, or rather the release of the water crystals into the network. There we go. And they are straight away pushed through. Ah, there's something wrong there, I imagine. That probably shouldn't have happened. Ah, yes, of course. I'm an idiot. No one needs to know. No one wants to know. Let's be honest with ourselves. No one needs that kind of information in their lives. There we go, and hook that one up, and then hook you up as well. Perfect. Ah, there we go. I approve. Now let's have a look down here. How's everything going? Is this turning on or off? Well, actually, it'll be a little while before the crystals are backed up sufficiently. But for the time being, I think we should be good. Our regular basic mana is going to start struggling. We're using that in so many different places now. And there are actually several places which are consuming that type of mana. Oh, wow. Well, look at that. That is glorious. That is quite glorious. What? Wow. Really? Okay, so we back this whole system up after a point. Or to a degree. Oh no, we're not getting any white crystals down here. Really? Is that the problem? Wow. What happened here? Why is that not occurring? Okay, so our white crystals are being used up everywhere else, and that is blocking the whole system. Oh no, here we go. There's some white crystals making it down there right now. Never mind. The problem just fixed itself. Just as I was about to worry, the problem was resolved. Happiest of days. Everyone, happiest of days. But the white crystals are being used in a massively larger amount than any other type of crystal in our system. That is going to cause us problems. But as you can see, it has allowed things to back up. And our earth crystal, that one was the one that was always depleted, is now up 219. And it isn't getting any higher. It looks like each one is given perhaps a random maximum level. That's actually pretty cool. And yep, down here they're all full. That's actually pretty cool as well. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. But we are going to need to make one more adjustment. Now, the nice thing about this system is that it isn't actually checking if each silo is the same amount. It's checking each silo individually and then checking if each silo has reached its specific amount before releasing. So that means, since we're using white crystals probably at least twice as fast, maybe even 3 times as fast, I can do something like this. And we can pop that in there. There we go. Now that will cause all of the systems to be a little bit awry, because whilst this is it is checking if all of them have reached their specific amount, it's not checking and shutting off the grabbers individually. That's a little bit of a different story. It's waiting for this one to fill up to 30, so all of them are going to fill up to 30 in that regard. So it is a little bit... we could make the system more complicated and have each one control its own grabber specifically, or even just pop in a separate function to try and deal with that, perhaps inverting the math block here. So for example, if this is greater than 10, then close the grabber by using a not. That's possible. I'm not entirely sure that I'd want to, though. For the time being, let's leave these as just 10s, but it is something that we might want to consider. We could set that up, or even just increase them all to 20, but I think it would probably be better just to have that one dropping a lot more into the system than the others. But we've already got enough room now for the fire crystals, and we are producing the water crystals soon, hopefully. This will be complete. Let's have a quick look at you. Yes, we're very close to the completion of water purification, so I imagine in the next episode, we're going to be able to check on fire crystals. And we'll also be able to see what these ones can be used to improve. But I think before we get to fire crystals, because we've been doing a lot with mana lately, I think instead we're going to focus on the town. I would like to perhaps not add more food, though we are doing okay with that. Fruit and dairy seem to be suffering a little bit. And that doesn't surprise me because we have got backups of meat and grain in that we've got raw chicken and bread if we're not producing sandwiches. And we've also got vegetable and meat stews down there. We've got... well, the vegetable stew only satisfies the fruit and veg requirement, but we've got the butter there, and that's the only one. I think we probably do want to get maybe another couple of pastures or something like that going, just so that we've got some more production, at least of milk. Right now, we could definitely do with more milk in the entire system. Probably more chicken, honestly. Yeah. So maybe another 2 pastures, a chicken farm and a cow pasture to facilitate some faster butter production and cooked chicken overflow as well. And that should help out a fair bit. But we'll have to see about that in the next episode. I really do hope you've enjoyed this one though, and will be joining me for the next. But until then, and as always, do take care, everyone.